Last year, Cabby Fingers and I started our work together on the Sign with Fingers Big and Small campaign in partnership with National Deaf Children's Society. Cabby Don't Work Fingers are made when everyone comes together. But for many people, these moments can be quite isolating as we find ourselves trying to piece bits of the conversation together. We set out to get people learning British Sign Language with everyday phrases so more of us can feel included in the conversation. And just like that, the campaign created awareness of my superpower. I'm so excited to announce that this year I get to continue the partnership with Cabby Fingers as they have come on board to help me launch the first ever series of Superpowers with Tasha. Together, we want more people to share their own superpowers so more of us can feel included. As well as providing the best studio snack for me and my guests, getting to work with Cabby Fingers again means we will be reminding you regularly to keep learning a little BSL via the Sign with Fingers hub. You can even learn, would you like a snack? And my answer every time, yes. Head to signwithfingers.cabby.co.uk to start your BSL journey. Hi everyone, welcome back to Superpowers with Tasha, and today we've got some familiar faces you may know, and this episode is going to be all about going back into my history and growing up and give you that advice as well and much more deeper into that. So I'd like you to welcome my mum and dad, i.e. Nicky and Taz.
Hi.
Say
Hello everybody, hi. This is weird.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, but you get used to it. It's fine. Just have a little chat.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's weird you grilling us for a change instead of the other way around,
What do you mean? You never grilled me.
We did. After a night out. Where have you been? What have you been doing?
Yeah.
Well, that's what it's like when you're a kid, so.
Yeah.
So we're going to take it back to, obviously, when I was born. And, how did you kind of start seeing the signs that I was, deaf?
Okay. It was initially, we never really kind of sussed it until we went for the health visitor checks, where the squeak toy's behind you and see if you respond to where they are. So they walk behind your squeaker toy. I think we had 3 of those and you didn't respond. But you also, and we weren't sure if it's related or not, but you also used to make this horrendous noise. And it wasn't a scream, it wasn't a cry. It wasn't a shout, it was just an horrendous noise.
Really?
And we're not sure if that was because you could maybe hear that level. We're not quite sure. But you failed 3 of the health visitor checks. And then they referred us to a specialist for more investigations.
Yeah. I think it's very easy when you've got a little baby that, a lot of communication isn't verbal anyway, right? In normal life, it's visual. So if you're talking to a baby, you normally coo, 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 and the baby's responding to what you're doing, your mannerisms and everything. So you're getting some feedback. So we didn't think really that there was a hearing problem, because you're responding to different things.
But you used to also follow us a lot.
Yeah.
So you'd wherever we were, you'd crawl through. When you were crawling, you'd have to see us all the time, so you'd throw me off.
normally with two of my special CDs on your hands. On the
Alex's CDs as well.
I used to ruin all of Dad's famous Kylie Minogue special CDs.
You ruined some of Alex's games. He wasn't happy.
Sorry, Kylie. And Madonna as well. Your one built-in Q music, which was awesome. Q sound was the latest sound, and it was ruined.
Well, that's the thing. I think obviously I don't remember when I was a baby or growing up, and when you went to the hospital and they said she's deaf. How did that feel for you in that moment? Would you say, were you kind of scared or were you kind of prepared for what was to come?
Well, you got referred to the specialist, Nuffield Hospital in York, who were fantastic. And you were put under anaesthetic. You had a brainstem test, which is how the test, the level of deafness. And that's how it came back, profoundly deaf. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a mix of feelings, wasn't it? I think, the sort of devastation, I suppose, if I could just do a few words, devastation, guilt. We felt that, didn't we? I mean, we sat and cried with each other. But I think really more importantly, an overwhelming sort of worry for you and your future. What would that look like for you, and what do we need to adapt to your needs to help you flourish in life, regardless of what superpower you're born with, you know. But yeah, it was emotional. I think the first week, you know, we were almost grieving, I think, in a strange way. But
Yeah, I think we half expected it because we already had the health visitor checks, and I think we'd already had conversations with the health visitor. So you kind of half expected that result to come back, but you hoped it wasn't going to come back.
Yeah.
But we were surrounded by so much help with the NHS as well. So even after that initial sort of results, they were straight in there with options and help and audiology appointments and, you know, more hearing tests and speech. It was kind of overwhelming.
Yeah.
At first, but yeah, it was scary. But we, you know, battled our way through it.
yeah,
Got every bit of help we could.
Yeah.
yeah.
So obviously I had hearing aids, didn't I, at first?
Just before you were one, yeah.
Yeah. So why? Because obviously hearing aids didn't benefit me at the time. Was that purely because cochlear implant wasn't ready for me to have at the time?
It was, but they I don't think they were totally sure that the level of loss. So they tried those as a first phase, and part of that as well is cochlear implant technology is very expensive. Hearing aids are cheaper. So you need to be suitable for cochlear implant in a few ways. A, the type of loss that you've got. So yours is sensory. The hairs in the cochlea are damaged at birth. So, and the other thing they look for is whether or not you'll be a good wearer of that technology. Because a lot of kids reject it; they just rip it off, and there's no point implanting a kid that's going to do that. So it was, I think, a way to try and get you some sound into your ears.
Yeah.
And you never took those hearing aids off.
Yeah.
Kate, the audiologist from York, came to fit them at the house, and you were just before one, I think.
Yeah.
And there was me, you, my mum, and Kate. Tiny little baby sat in the middle of the room,
On the floor
and she
together.
put these little hearing aids in each ear, and you never took them out.
Really?
Yeah, and when we started talking, you cried.
Yeah.
When we stopped talking, you stopped crying.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't want to hear your voices.
Exactly. That's what I thought. Oh no, I've got years of this.
I don't want to hear these people today.
Yeah, because you could finally hear things.
Yeah, you realised at some point that when we're doing this with our mouths, that noise comes out, and she went behind Kate, I remember, and cried and was like, "What the hell's that?" You know, things are making noises now, and it wasn't intelligible noise for you yet because those hearing aids can't do that for your type of hearing loss.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, you were hearing sounds that you hadn't heard before, so yeah, it was probably quite magical for you. But I guess you don't remember, right?
No, I really don't remember going through. I remember I used to have like a purple hearing aid with a sticker on it. Oh, I'm making that
You
up.
can get your moles different colours.
Yeah, I think I had
So,
like a cartoon on it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the moles that go into your ears,
Yeah.
a little clear plastic effectively, sort of silicone, you can have those different colours.
Yeah.
So as you wore them more, we used to get different colours for you. And as you got older, you wanted them with cartoon characters on or flowers or something.
Like a little cartoon character. I remember it was like, I can't remember what cartoon it was, but I remember that. But I don't really remember going through the hearing aid phrase that much. Like looking back, and obviously I used BSL as well whilst I had hearing aids.
Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest thing, wasn't it? Immediately when we found out, before the hearing aids came, we were like, okay, we need to learn sign language. And we all did. We went to night class. Alex came as well, your brother. And we started, didn't we? We just we need to adapt. We need to communicate with each other, and that was the way we did it. And then after your analog hearing aids, they went to digital, right? And which are more programmable to your hearing loss. And they were slightly better. I think you probably got more intelligible noise through those because they were focused on the soft sounds where a lot of your loss was. And it sounds easy now, but there was many trips to the hospital, wasn't there, to realise where the hearing losses were. It takes a lot of data for you to realise, and that data comes from multiple visits.
Yeah.
And then they tune that digital hearing aid to those losses. So a lot of soft sounds like p, f, s. So gymnasium, you know, if you take away the soft sounds from that, it sounds like anasm.
Yeah.
Or something like that, right? So
You can probably remember doing those though, can you? Going to the hospital and you'd sit in a room like this, soundproofed room, and they'd make different noises and you would have to press a button when you heard it.
When you hear the little, I rember that when you hear a
Or
noise.
the
you have to
Duracell
press
bunny.
it.
Remember the Duracell bunny?
Yeah, that used to scare me a bit.
yeah, it was freaky.
It was like a bunny like through a see-through glass.
Yeah.
And it was like scary, and I used to sit there like just on my own in the room, like trying to hear sounds. But that's obviously part of like the hearing therapy, isn't it? After when you have to go through, and then when they kind of gave you the option for me to have a cochlear implant, how old was I at that point?
The option.
You had
four-ish,
it just
yeah.
before you were 5, because
Yeah.
the optimum time is before your 5th birthday. So under 5 was back then the best time to have it. So I think we started the assessments sort of beginning of the year that you turned 5.
Yeah.
And literally, because you were such a good candidate, you flew through the assessments. And then they gave us a date for implant pretty much. It was really quick.
Yeah.
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 Really, really quick.
And a great team at Bradford. Professor Rain, Chris Rain, Jane Martin, head of service there.
Yeah.
They were outstanding, weren't they?
Brilliant.
The whole team
Brilliant
there.
team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't fault the NHS and the care that you've had for this. They were fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, because obviously then after having my cochlear implant, I had to work on my speech as well. So I can't really remember what my speech was like when I had my hearing aids. Like, was it there? Was it not there? Was it kind of...
It was very muffled. It was, if you have a hard of hearing person or even a deaf person who doesn't have any technology and they try and talk, because the words don't make sense, the language can't make sense, right? So you were like that, but not as bad. There was some intelligible words, and I Love You was one that we focused on a lot. We used a lot of tools for that to make you feel that everything was okay. I brought a tool with me. One of those, if you don't mind, I'll just...
What tool?
Well, you might remember.
Not Dad bringing the surprises.
Oh, yeah. So, do you remember...
Oh, Barney.
No way!
Barney. So, this is the original Barney that Tash had when she was 4 and 5.
Oh, my God.
Now, I dug him out of a box in Spain that took me a long time to find, but I found him. And sadly, his voice box stopped working.
Oh, it goes like,
get him
I
fixed.
love you.
However,
You
I found a donor Barney on the internet, Amazon in the US, and I got him shipped over, and I've done a transplant of voice box from the American one to this Barney, so he's still... Family,
with a great big hug.
kiss from me to you.
Oh my God.
You say you love me too. There you go. There's Barney, all working.
I used to love like having Barney in bed, and I used to just, put him on and just sing along with him.
Yeah. And that was, little tools like that just got you to be confident with speaking. And
There was a lot of work at home, so you had speech therapy through the NHS, plus we also went private for speech therapy and found 2 amazing ladies which wrote... I can't remember the names, but they were fantastic. So you used to probably have 2 or 3 speech therapy sessions a week.
Yeah.
With that, but there was also, you can't then just come home and forget about it. There was a lot of homework as well.
Yeah.
So they used to give us things to do at home, and so there was a lot of intense work with you on your speech.
yeah. And at nursery school, of course, you had Mary Ann,
Yeah.
great friend and family member, and always will be forever.
Yeah.
Who helped you a lot because she was an expert in BSL. I mean, when she talks normally, she's doing BSL at the same time. So she helped us all enormously with that.
Yeah. So when it came to like going to school, for example, and I know that, you think about sending me to like a deaf school, for example, but actually you just sent me to, normal public school. Like, what made you do that decision and not send me
we went to a deaf school. We went to a local one, Boston Spa. Fantastic school, amazing students, but we just didn't feel it was right for you. It just didn't feel right, did it?
It didn't. There was 2 big decisions, wasn't there? There was the first big decision was, do we actually go with a cochlear implant? Because we researched it and we were like, okay, it's quite a big operation. The technology was actually reasonably... I mean, it'd been around since the 70s, I think. It used to be a big processing box here, big cable all the way up the back of your head and a massive magnet, and now it's tiny, right? All technology develops. So that was the first big decision. And then the second decision was exactly that, do we go mainstream or deaf school? And actually, the biggest decision, I think, is that you've got to consider what you might want in the future. You might not have liked us or thanked us for going down the cochlear implant route or the mainstream school. And these decisions were decisions we had to make without your input because you weren't old enough to make them.
Yeah.
I think we got it right.
Yeah, definitely. And the school was an amazing school, but they used they mainly use BSL. And for you, we wanted, because your speech was coming on, we wanted to kind of use both with you, and for your speech to be, to be still worked on.
Yeah.
And yeah, you had amazing friends where we lived, and all those, all your friends were going to the local school, so we just wanted to be with them as well.
Yeah.
And that's, Mary-Ann was just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the school, Richard
And the
Wilder
school,
head,
yeah.
and he was very open and welcoming, and was like, absolutely, we'll get the funding we need, we'll get the teaching assistant, and the whole engagement of the school. I remember Mary-Ann offering to do sign language classes to
She did,
any of
yeah.
the kids.
Yeah.
The whole school turned up.
Yeah.
She was like overwhelmed because the kids wanted to embrace you as well. So it was really good.
Yeah. So I remember that school, Thirsk Primary School it was called, and I remember the head teacher. What was his name?
Richard Wilde.
Yeah, Mr. Wilde. I used to love Mr. Wilde, and the primary school was so good for bringing me in and really taking me. And I feel like that primary school really did me really, really good.
Yeah.
So I think in a way, I'm thankful that you did send me to
Yeah.
a mainstream, because it also forces me to communicate with, having conversations with people, and that really helped my speech at the time as well. So I think that was probably the best decision you made. And obviously with the Cochlear implant as well, I get a lot of parents messaging me saying, they're having to make this decision for their child, and it's hard for, the parents and for you guys to make that decision. And what advice would you give on that scenario when having to make that decision for their child? Like, do they go for Cochlear implant, or, figuring out what's right for the child?
Do as much research as you can. Meet other families. We met other families with children with cochlear implants, which was, it's fantastic, and it was great to see how those children were sort of coping with their implants, and they were slightly older than you, so you could ask them about how they felt about it.
Yeah.
And it was all positive.
Yeah.
So yeah, just do lots of research, meet other people.
Yeah, and I'll say that the Cochlear implant team at Bradford were good at introducing us to other children that had been through that. I remember going to a house on the outskirts of Harrogate.
Harrogate.
And it was Josie, I think her name was.
Yeah, she was quite a bit older than you.
Yeah.
And she'd been implanted a couple of years. And the mum said, say hello. And she was talking pretty normally, And then she said, oh, you like gymnastics, don't you? Now, I used that word before, right, because that's got a lot of soft sounds in it. And she said gymnastics perfectly with the S, and I was like, that's the magic this technology can bring. So for me, it was a non-brainer at that point. I think that was a bit of a light bulb moment for me about going down the route with the CI, for sure. Yeah.
Do you remember the switch on? Because I don't remember it.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, it was a bit anticlimax, to be fair. So the switched you on, and I think we were expecting all these wonderful things to happen, and it didn't. So in the car on the way back, I think it was quite upsetting, because you've been hearing through hearing aids for 3.5, 4 years, and with a cochlear implant you then have to learn all those sounds again, because everything sounds different. So it was training your ear again.
Yeah.
Even though I think I was sat in your bedroom with you, sort of talking to you or showing you loads of things, thinking, come on, you've got to hear this. But you did hear paper turn.
Okay.
And you were hearing birds pretty much straight away as well, which you hadn't heard before.
Yeah.
So, and it was gradual, and it was a long process, because we had to go to the hospital very regular for tuning, once a month, I think, at that time. So it was quite intense to get your implant to the level where it needed to be for you to start hearing different levels of sounds.
Yeah.
But you started noticing things.
Like little things.
Birds was a beautiful moment, because you were like, what was that? It's the first time you'd heard a bird tweet. That's a magical... It's a magical moment,
I still do that now. I'd be outside and I'd be like, what's that noise? Trying to figure out where it's coming from. I'm like, oh, what's that?
Yeah.
And Andrew's like, oh, it's this or that. And I still even do that nowadays. Sometimes I hear little things that I haven't heard before.
Your sound is only received from this direction, in this area only, not from here, not from behind. So unless you're looking at it, you still probably won't hear a lot of stuff that we hear.
Yeah. Another common question I actually get asked is, why do I only have one implant? This is a very, very common question I always get asked, and it'd be great for you to explain why at the time do you only give me one implant when I've got hearing loss in both.
We were only offered one
Yeah.
at the time, and again, probably because of the cost, maybe. And let's see how she is with one. And then you were offered the second one when she was 14.
You were going through your A-level at college.
15,
Yeah.
15,
Yeah.
16.
Yeah.
But obviously
It's
that broke.
as well because they said because technology has always been improved, they didn't want to do two in case then something else came in the future.
Right.
And at that time, it was only one implant. Now the implant babies were two.
Yeah.
Right.
Bilateral straight away now, mostly. And a lot of European countries do that as well. So, yeah, and you made the decision that, you were old enough at that point to make that decision yourself.
Yeah.
We didn't push you in either direction. We all talked about it, didn't we? And you said, I'm happy with one.
Yeah.
And that, we respect that decision today. It's
Yeah.
your decision.
Yeah, because I think obviously it broke when I was in my A-levels as
Yeah.
well. So I had to go through
Yeah.
the reoperation of, So basically what happened was that I remember I was in the house and it just went off, and sometimes cochlear implant you have to change spare parts or you have to, change certain parts of it to work again. We were doing that, weren't we? Nothing was working. We went to the hospital, Bradford, and it's about an hour and a half drive away, so it's quite far. Got there and they changed some parts. It was working. We were like, woo, started driving back, and then it went off again.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, well, something's not right. So we went back to the hospital and they did internal checks, and that's kind of when they said, things with cochlear implants that kind of have a lifeline of 10
That was about 10 years.
yeah,
that
10 to
first
15
one.
years, I think,
Yeah.
like in between. So it's not a thing that's forever. So obviously it broke internally, so there was no point of me wearing my cochlear implant. I had to wait for my operation. I couldn't wear it for a while after as well to let my ear heal. So I do remember that was probably really hard for me mentally that time, because I was middle of my A-levels. I had to do that in my second year, but I actually still was going to college.
Yeah.
I was still getting the train. I was still, pushing myself to do as much as I could with my work at college, and still going to watch the shows. I think I actually did a dance as well for, I think there was like, what do you call it when people come visit the college, have a look around?
Yeah, like
Induction days.
Induction, yeah. And we did a dance and I actually still did it, So, but it was also mentally challenging at the time of, having to deal with it as well. And I remember my birthday and that was hard. And I had a massive breakdown, and I think that was my 15th or 16th birthday, I can't remember, because all my friends were around, everyone was having fun, having conversations, but then I couldn't really join in. And I remember it was definitely a tough time at that point.
Yeah, it was. And yeah, if we had a magic wand, we would have taken that away, but we couldn't.
Oh, Dad. I feel like we're going to cry a lot on this episode.
But you got through it. You worked hard and got through it.
Yeah.
Got a new implant and...
And then I think with dancing as well, that massively helped with my hearing in a way. So obviously you sent me to dance class, in a local dance studio in my town.
You're about 3 when you first started dancing.
Was that just grooving?
You just were
I was born a groover.
I wouldn't say it was that good.
So you started ballet at the age of 3, just before 3. You started with dance classes and then progressed into all other different areas which you wanted to do.
Was I good at that then?
Well, you would copy. We've got Steps to thank for a lot of that as well. I mean, we watched Steps Gold on DVD until it got burnt out, and you would copy them because you couldn't hear the music really then, but you could feel the vibration. We had a wooden floor, a laminate floor. I think that there was some big floor speakers, so the vibration came through the floor, through your feet, and you would copy the moves,
Yeah.
In fact, I thought one popped up on Facebook the other day. You were doing Tragedy in a little pink
Pink fairy outfit.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that video.
So yeah, thank you, Steps, if you're watching.
Yeah.
Love
But
you
I think
guys.
that helped with your confidence. The dancing really helped you.
Yeah, it did.
Helped
I
that
think.
way.
Yeah, I think dancing is massive. It's like a safe space in a way for me, and even to this day now, I still love to go to dance and just dance it out. And going to Creative Academy, that massively helped me find my confidence in who I was as a person. And did it surprise you guys that I wanted to do dance as a career?
Because I think you said it from a very early age that you wanted to do some kind of dance.
Yeah.
You never really said anything else. You wanted to do anything else.
Yeah.
Didn't surprise me, but I was like, how are you going to make money out of that in the future?
Yeah.
Because that's just a dad thing, I was like, how's she going to pay the bills dancing? But you have.
Normal, yeah. Yeah. But you never said you wanted to be anything else
Yeah.
apart from a dancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think.
I can't imagine you doing being anything else. I don't know. What else would you have done?
I don't know. I actually don't know what I would have done.
A model, maybe. You're not doing bad on that.
No, I probably would have done architecture.
Yeah.
I actually quite like interior design or
Interior
something.
design.
Yeah, still creative, but I feel like that would have been fun.
Yeah.
Something else I would have done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've done very well out of dance. I mean, you finished, I think, the top of the class in college in Wakefield, Kappa College.
I wasn't at the top of the class. I mean,
I thought
You did well.
You did. I thought you were.
I did well, but I wasn't at the top.
Oh, okay. Got an A.
I got a few. Yeah, I think I got like B and distinctions and A. Yeah.
And a distinction in uni, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got BA honours.
BA honours, yeah.
Distinction. Yeah. Star.
But I think wherever you've been, the school and the college and the uni have just been so supportive, and I think that's really important. Is having those conversations with where you're going to be going. So we had conversations with Kappa before she started, and same with creative. So it's they've all been amazingly supportive.
Yeah, I would say around anybody that's got a superpower, there's a lot of superheroes helping them with that superpower, and family, friends, specialists, the NHS, all of them have all been part of your journey, and and anybody else going through that. When you were on Love Island, we got contacted by many parents who were just finding out their child was deaf, and we're still in touch with one. I think you are as well, Nicola.
Nicola, yeah. Her little baby's due to have
Lucia.
Her implants in the next few months.
Yeah.
And she hadn't even thought about it really until she'd seen you on Love Island.
I remember the first message. She was terrified. She was a young woman. She was like, "I've just found out, and I just don't know what to do." And I saw me and you in her messages. I was like, we felt the same. Listen, just calm down. Acceptance is the first stage of that. And once you get your tears done with, and then once you accept it, then you realise the plan you can put in place and the help that's there. So we're still in touch, and she just updates us all the time. And I'd love to go. We're probably going to pop up and meet Lucia at some point.
Yeah.
I feel like she's part of the family now. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet. And I feel like, with schools, I think quite a lot of parents get scared about how school's going to go because it's such a pivotal moment in the child's life. Like high school is 5 to 6 years, so it is literally quite a long period. And I do remember I had options to have a note taker in my class, having extra time in my exams. I'd also had that radio aid
goes around your neck.
Yeah, so there's this thing called a radio aid. I'm not sure if they do it nowadays, but I'm sure. Where the teacher would wear a mic on her. I basically plug something into my Cochlear implant, and it's kind of like this now. So I just hear the teacher talking into my implant, basically. But I actually used to get embarrassed about it. No, I actually was really embarrassed, and I didn't want to, because it's in a little case, and I didn't want to go into my class and hand it to the teacher. I hated it. So I didn't really use it that much. But looking back, I kind of wish I did, because I think I just had that embarrassment of I wasn't confident. I didn't really talk about it at school, and I wasn't as open as I was back then. I was very shy, quite introvert. So I think for me, I was just kind of very I don't want anyone to see anything or ask
and it was different because when you were at primary school, you used it.
Yeah.
You used it all the time, but you were with those sort of your friends and those classes for the whole time. But then when you move to secondary school, and you've got so many different other children coming in from other schools who didn't know you.
Yeah.
So I think it was quite scary for you.
Yeah, I think that's what scared me, because it's you're kind of restarting again.
Yeah.
You're making new friends, and you're kind of going through, teenager problems as well, and all that jazz.
Yeah, absolutely. Going through puberty. And at primary school, we broke up as well. That probably had a profound effect on you and Alex. We know it did. But all that, and then all the extra pressures that you all had, it's not been an easy ride for anybody, I'm sure. But hey, you've come out the other end. We all have.
Yeah, definitely. Then let's go to Love Island. Favourite conversation. We love it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I remember I kind of said to Mum and Dad, and I was like, I think I might be going on, because I was kind of going through the process, and I was a bit I don't think I told you until like after like my third audition. I don't think I told you I had my first one. I don't think I did. So I didn't want to be like getting anyone's hopes up or getting my own hopes up. And then I remember getting that phone call of like, oh, you're going on. And I was like, oh, okay, it's real. And I remember ringing you two being like, I'm going on. Like, how did you two feel for me at that time? Like, obviously, I know you two had your worries about it. And you had to go through your own meetings with, you know, the welfare team, et cetera, et cetera. So I think you were a bit hesitant for me to go on a little bit. You were. I think you both were.
Yeah, I think there's always that worry, you know, and it wasn't worry about really the show or anything like that or the format. It was more about whether you could cope with it. Because there's good things come with that and there's bad things come with that. And it was more concern about you and you know, if you remember, we talked a lot about it, and I was like, why do you want to go on? You know, that was like the first question, I think.
Yeah.
And the first thing you said was to represent. The second thing you said was to find love. And the third thing you said was, if I make some money, that's a bonus. But, you know, I think the answers filled me with a whole load of new perspective on it, because you said to represent first. And I thought that needs to happen.
Yeah.
You know, there's not enough of that. And if you want to be the one that's brave enough to go and do that, then we'll be right behind you.
Yeah.
And so if you'd have said, I want to get rich and famous, I would have said, well, I don't want you to go on.
Yeah.
Because it's for the wrong reasons, you know. So yeah, that was my side.
Yeah, same really. It was kind of, I think you said, even before you started going for the auditions and the interview, you said, I want to be on Love Island. So you kind of always aspired to
manifest it.
Yeah. So yeah, it was, and to be honest, I hadn't really watched it before. Obviously, I've seen bits of it, people talk about it, so I didn't really understand the whole format. So even during when you went on it, I was having to message people and saying, well, what happens now? So I wasn't too sure of how the whole format kind of worked, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think representation was your main reason, obviously to find love, which you have, which is fantastic. And yeah, there was always apprehensions. It was more when you came out.
Yeah.
That I was worried about.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, very proud of you for doing it.
Yeah. Got through it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
I think
the mission accomplished on the representation and finding love. So you achieved what you wanted to achieve out of it. Which is great.
And obviously, it's going a bit deep now. Obviously, experience in ableism. Obviously, I had no idea when you're in the filler, you have no clue what's being said on the outside, or you know what's being even anything. And I remember coming out and obviously having a conversation of like, these are kind of some of the things that were said. And I think it's, you know, that's why I went on the show, is to not let that happen, because, you know, ableism happens to so many people. Like, children get bullied in school for it. I spoke to Meryl last week, and she like walks out and people like laugh at her and, you know, point at her and giggle at her, and it's like she experienced ableism out, you know, and that's why this world needs to change and not be so closed-minded. And I think me going on Love Island, I think a lot of people couldn't accept change, and I think that's why they were so like, you know, daggering at me. And I think they couldn't accept the fact that, you know, the world's changing, it's breaking stigmas, breaking down the boundaries. But yeah, I think, how was it for you two to... It's hard for families because they have to deal with it.
It's really hard.
Pretty much.
I think what I found most hard is seeing people that have never met you, don't know you, and a lot of them are women with families, making horrendous comments about you, and it's like, how can you do this when you don't even know her?
Yeah.
You don't know what she's going through in there, and we could see it. We could see when you were tired and you were needing a break, and we knew why you were probably, you know, you were getting quite upset, but we knew why you were getting upset. You know, it's hard work for you.
Yeah.
Being in those situations, 24 hours a day. Having to, I'm going to start crying now.
Yeah,
having to listen
Yeah.
constantly to conversations, and you missed out on so much. And I could see you missing out. And I knew when you were in groups and people were talking to you, you didn't understand them and you couldn't hear what they were saying.
Yeah.
So I understood why you were getting upset. But people making comments when they don't understand was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Really, and they had no right to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, I second that. You know, it was just sickening.
Yeah.
The human race sickened me quite a lot during that period.
I
Not
say it
just
a
not
lot,
just
women
on
and families, women and with children.
Yeah. I mean, I remember pulling, you know, so a couple of things that you weren't the only one to suffer that. You know, when we spoke to the other groups, there was horrendous things being said about other contestants as well. And you just don't get it. You're just like, why are they so invested in that? And somebody said the other day, you know, opinions are like arseholes. You know, everybody's got one. And that's okay, right? To have an opinion, I'm okay with that. But when it becomes ableism or it
Personal.
becomes really personal and threatening, and you know, I mean, I don't want to say some of them that I read about, you know, some of the other people, because they sort of still upset me. But the human race sometimes can just be so evil and nasty, and it's just not necessary.
And they're only seeing like 20, what?
Yeah.
The programme was how long? For an hour, but you only see...
If you take the adverts off.
Tell the adverts out. They're seeing a little snippet of your day, and that's been edited as well, so they're not seeing it true, as it probably was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really
But yeah,
bad.
judging people when they don't know them, that was the hardest thing, you know, and we did our best to get the message out there and to explain to people.
We kept quiet at first, like, no, and then it just got too much, and then we did start.
Right, let's bang out on the press and get people educated here that, you know, it wasn't just about, of course it was about you because we're protective of you, but you wanted to go for representation, and part of that representation is how people should react to people with disabilities or superpowers, right?
Yeah.
Or how they should help, not hinder and not belittle them and not point at them like Meryl, you know, that's just disgusting. So yeah, I think in general, just people can be really bad people.
Yeah.
But it's that, and it's easy when it was on. Because we had a WhatsApp group with Fee and Ty and Josh and me and your mum. So we stayed in touch, sort of before the show and after the show. Like, what just happened, kind of thing.
I don't think we ever watched the show because we're constantly messaging each other.
So one of the things that we did was wrong. Now I look back on it, was that we were communicating and pointing out the bad things that were being said about you. And it's too easy to let that chew you up inside, and it did, you know, it did. Whereas when you start scrolling through, looking for bad stuff, you'll find the bad stuff. If you scroll past that, you see more good stuff, and there was a lot more good stuff.
Than
you know,
bad stuff.
probably 90% and 10% bad, but the bad stuff was really bad.
Yeah.
And the nice stuff was a lot of it, and it was lovely, you know, and lots of inboxes, and just to say, I think your daughter's amazing, or, you know, congratulations to you for raising such a great daughter. They still come in, you know, every now and then. If you do a tweet, I'll get a message from somebody. And yeah, I mean, so we talked about it and we said, why don't we flip this round and just start looking at the good stuff?
Yeah.
Right. And it worked for me, and I think it worked for you.
Yeah, I think we all did. And it was ignoring the bad comments and not responding to them.
Yeah.
Not giving them that satisfaction that we've actually responded back.
Yeah, because it just pours petrol on the fire.
Because then they would
you know?
come back with something else.
Yeah.
And it was like an argument, you're never going to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we just stopped it with those people. It's just not worth it, really.
That's kind of like, even now, like, there's so much that still gets said about me that's literally completely made up, and it's like they want that reaction from me to fuel that fire. And but also then it's hard because it's like, if it's not something you've done or it's not who you are and as a person, it's hard to kind of not say anything and be like, you know, fight for myself. So I have every right to defend myself. And I feel like people forget we are also human, we have feelings, and you know, people just think, oh, the Islanders, I can deal with it, mental health's fine. Oh, no. No. Like, it's hard. I don't think people see the aftermath of what Islanders, you know, I've gone through it. Like, you know, my mental health has been up and down after the show. Like, it has been, and it's not always been so high, and it's hard when you have people trying to bring you down constantly. And it's like I have to stop looking at the bad stuff. And
You do. Yeah.
But it's hard to do that, you know. It's easier said than done, but it's like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you've got to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to. It's the only way out of it. You've got to.
Yeah.
So.
It's okay.
Oh, come here.
Give us your hand. Give us your hand. It's okay. It's okay. You know, like I said before, opinions, everybody's got one. But it does hurt when it's not you and it's not true, and you know exactly what you're talking about, and it's happened recently on
And those people aren't worth our time.
I know, it's like, it's hard when you see the comments of, saying that just horrible things of like complete speculation of a lie, and it's just like...
They're just trolls who've got nothing better to do with their lives.
Yeah.
Really, they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard to stay strong at the same time and try and balance everything at the same time as well. It can be really difficult to do that. And I think people see our lives as like a luxury life, and it's amazing. And yeah, the opportunities I've had have been incredible, but it's hard to also balance everything out and also be in touch with my emotions and my feelings. And it's so hard.
Yeah. We know.
I said I was not going to cry.
We've got great friends as well, and family.
That's one thing that came out of, when you talk about people commenting, when you were on the show, there was quite a few people, well, she knew what Love Island was like, she should be able to hack it. And I'm like, what, she should be able to hack your hatred because she's gone on a TV show to represent and to find love? The two just didn't compute for me. I'm like, how do you get that to that? It's like... It's not. So it's almost like that some of the viewing public are just there for that.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of them were from made up profiles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too scared to own up to who they are.
Doing it.
Yeah.
Just to do it.
Just to do it. And I just don't understand people like that.
And I think, it's great to have a show like that, but I think the negatives that come with it is kind of like, is it really worth it, like, for people's mental health? And, it's a hard one with a show like that. But at the same time, I look at positives. That I would have never met Andrew, for example, of like, having the amazing experience that I did. Like the last 2 weeks, we had the best time because we were just like together, stopped caring. We were like, what, we're here, just us two. And I remember the last 2 weeks, I was just so happy and I was fully myself. And I think people could see that.
Everyone saw that.
Yeah.
I think it was, obviously went through a bit of a hard time in there. And I think when, especially Andrew was fantastic and he really stood up for you and protected you. I would start crying again. And I think from that moment, you could see you change.
Yeah.
And you were more relaxed and more happy, and it was just you and Andrew together.
Yeah.
Which was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, you went into your shell, and we could see that every day. And it's no secret. It's been in the press that we talked to the welfare team at ITV quite a lot over that period. And every time we were assured that happened 2 days ago, and now everything's okay. And eventually, you see in a few days it was okay. But in that period, it was tough watching on the morning briefings when the girls go on the terrace, and you were sat there looking damn sad, and not engaging in conversation with them until you were asked something. So that, there was lots of moments, and I publicly said that as well. I wanted to come and drag you out, and Nicky was like, "She won't thank you for it," and I was like, "I don't care. I don't care."
I'm like, "Dad, what are you doing?"
That's what I said. Yeah.
You might get another chance like Adam did in a few years, but I was like, "Just drag her out.
No, she won't.
Just get her out." Yeah. It was a roller coaster, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
A roller coaster.
And I feel like, for me, it was hard for me to kind of find love as well. And I think, you two love Andrew, and I feel like everyone else, like all of it's just been so great and like just mingled well. And
I did put Andrew right at the start. So
you did.
Right at the start.
Yeah.
And Andrew's granddad did as well. Did you? Who did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, did you?
He was all right, I suppose, didn't he? Look, it's interesting you just said that, you found it hard to find love. Why do you think that?
I think it's because I was like, I felt like I wasn't fully like accepted for who I was in a way. Like, I don't know, I think with dating and stuff, like I was quite open, like I'd be quite honest, but I feel like with Andrew, he really, really fully accepts me for me, and he's actually wanting to learn and actually invested in learning, about the deaf community, and he's very involved in that, and he'll change my batteries for me, like things like that. It's like what I've been looking for. So I feel like that is love, and that's that's why I love him for who he is, for what how he treats me and how he is as a person. So I think that's kind of like what I mean, I guess.
Okay.
I'm getting very cringe.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
And I'm sat here talking about how much I'm in love with Andrew in front of my parents.
If you can't do it in front of us, who can you do it?
We can see that. You don't have to go, a scientist to actually see how much you are both in love with each other.
Yeah.
No,
Just natural. It's very natural.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, where was I at? Oh, you were talking about Love Island, and then I think, for me, I'm grateful for you two because like you've got me to where I am now, and I think all the hard decisions you've had to make has got me to where I am, and you've always been there for me and like through the hard times, like you never gave up on me. And I think that's probably the advice I give to parents as well, is that don't give up. Like you have to really hold in there, and it will get hard, but you have to be in it together, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I think for any parent with anybody that's just found out they've got a superpower or existing now, there's some sort of top tips I would give them, which is the first one is acceptance, and come to terms with it as quick as you can. It's not that easy, but you've got to, and then you put that plan in place. Secondly, I would say that with gratitude, optimism is sustainable. That's not my say. Michael J. Fox said that. He's got Parkinson's disease. And he said, the way he handles that is he finds something to be grateful for, and then it's easy to be optimistic about the future. And he does that on a daily basis. And I was like, that's a great bit of advice. Reach out to people that can help you. So like Nicky said, groups and the professional services and things like that. Fight as well, because you might have to fight for the right things for your child or the person that's got the superpower, or fight yourself, sometimes for equipment or for assessments, or, just put the effort in and fight. And stay positive, turn any negative energy into a positive, which of course isn't easy. And there's times when you threw your cochlear implant across the bedroom and kicked and screamed and kicked the doors and blamed us for making you deaf, and
loads of that. I don't know why it didn't break every time you did it, but it didn't.
No, it actually didn't never break. I was so surprised it never broke.
Yeah, good technology, I guess. But it is difficult to stay positive. I know that, and but good people around you will lift you and help you to stay positive if you can't do it yourself. Yeah, so. Got me crying now.
I used to have many a tantrum.
Yeah, I used to have bad tantrums.
But when we used to try and tell you off as well, like with your implant or your hearing aids, you would shut your eyes so you couldn't see us.
Yeah.
And we'd have to sign at that point, especially more when you had your hearing aids. We'd have to sign to you at that point because you were still trying to, learn to hear and your speech and everything.
Yeah.
But you could still hear us a bit, but then you started taking them out. So you stand there like with your eyes shut, and you couldn't hear us. So we couldn't. Yeah. It was impossible telling you off.
Couldn't bollock you for.
I loved it. It was like my secret. If anyone's ever like having an argument with your parents and you're deaf, just take out your cochlear implant or hearing aids and just close your eyes. And that's why your problem solved. You don't have to deal with it.
A lot of that.
Tasha's top tip for avoiding trouble. Brilliant.
And you just stand there going, can't hear you.
Yeah. And we were like, open your eyes. No. You're like, open them. No. At least look at us. No.
That is so funny. And like, obviously, I say as well, there's a lot of different types of cochlear implants as well. I feel like people assume there's just one type of cochlear implant. Is that there's so many different companies, and how did it come about to be registered with Medal? Was that just purely because that was like what's the best option for me?
It was the hospital, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's what Bradford supported and chose as for reasons not known to us, but are probably based on technology and serviceability. When they take on a product and give it to lots of people, they've got to have spare parts and the training of the staff on how to adapt it all. So they only offered that one at the time. I don't know if they offer different ones now, but
yeah.
It would be silly to get everyone trained up on 2 or 3 different products that kind of do the same thing, But Medel was a good leader when we looked into them. It was like, that looks great.
Yeah, they're still going strong now. Like they've massively adapted, and there's so many different types of cochlear implants, and I think it's not just one model. You see different types. You see like one just magnet. You see one that's a bit higher. Like there's so many different types out there, and that's just purely because that's they provide you what will be best for.
And they're constantly working on new technology, so there'll be loads more to come in the future.
Just consider this, it was 19 years ago when you got yours. 19 years in technology is a long, long time. A long time. Things develop really quickly, so I'm looking forward to
Like when you had your
exploring with my
second one.
Dallins.
Yeah, when you had your second one, things sounded differently even from your first to your second.
Yeah.
So even that 10 years, it changed so much.
Yeah, because I remember the one I've got now, so that was a whole new implant. So when I had the re-operation when I was 15, 16, I can't remember what age I was, I think one of them two, but I had to get it all new re-implant, like a newer version, and what my old one was. But even like nowadays, I see Cochlear implants where you can just charge it. Like you don't have to change batteries.
Ah, cool.
There's like chargeable ones now, and like I always forget to put my batteries out. Like even before I came here, Dad was like, "Have you got batteries?"
I'm
I was
always saying that. Yeah, have you got your batteries?
Mum does it all the time.
Even message her if she's going somewhere. Have you got your batteries?
She's got better at that. You were rubbish at that for many years.
And
It was
ordering them. You're a nightmare at even ordering them.
Yeah.
Have you ordered your batteries, Tasha?
I've still got a drawer full of batteries, even in Spain. Still
Might be
just,
outdated.
yeah, probably.
And I still, every time I change them, I just leave them all about on the floor.
yeah.
Like
yeah.
in my flat. Like
Oh, there's one on the floor today. I saw it this morning.
Yeah, they're all over.
I just don't know how it happens.
Some of your bag is full of batteries.
So yeah, so my Cochlear implants, obviously through NHS as well, that wasn't private. So obviously it depends on, you can go private, but I think they're quite expensive.
I think it's over the age of 18. I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But I remember then telling us
You've got to
that
go private.
it's about on the NHS. It was about 30,000 for the operation, the technology, and the ongoing support to the age of 18. So
Wow.
I don't know if you have to go private after 18
not
or not. I
sure.
don't know. I think if you're a suitable candidate, they would do it, but they prefer to implant younger people because your brain's a bit more of a sponge,
Yeah.
and you can adapt a lot quicker when you're younger, cognitively.
You grow up with it as well, I guess. So it's kind of,
Yeah.
it does make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for anybody that was hearing and then you're starting to lose your hearing, a hearing aid is probably a better option, It's all down to the type of loss and they would advise on that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, because people can get like tinnitus.
Tinnitus.
Yeah.
Ringing in your ears, yeah.
Yeah. So I think like hearing aids, a lot of people get that mixed up as well. Hearing aids, Cochlear implants are the same thing. Like even now people mistake this for a hearing aid when, so different. Like a hearing aid is there to amplify sounds and just make things a bit louder for you, whereas Cochlear implants are actually surgically done, about 7 to 8 hours surgery. And, such a big difference between the two. And I feel like there's not enough education on the differences as well. Like I get a lot of people still say, oh, it's the hearing aid. I'm like, no, actually it's a Cochlear implant, because not many people know about Cochlear implants, really.
Yeah. I mean, they look the same. You've got an over the ear microphone and a processor and a battery pack.
Yeah.
So it looks the same as a hearing aid. So I can understand why.
Yeah.
The clever bit's the inside bit actually, with that other sort of 10p piece under the skin, and then a lot of fibre optics that are pushed into the cochlea to try and replace the hairs that were missing. It's really clever technology. I mean, whoever invented it, the first person,
I can't remember his name.
I doubt they're still alive, but I would love to shake their hand because
There was
it's great.
a name. I think it might be Charles something.
Yeah.
I might be making that up. But he was like the first guy to like ever invent it back in the days. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I feel like this has been a lovely chat, and I feel like we've got a lot out there, and I hope that parents listening to this kind of can take something away from this. And my DMs are always open on my page, and always even mum and dad's as well.
Yeah.
And just remember you're not alone. Like surround yourself with good people and reach out if you need that advice. So I've got one question for you two. What would you say my superpower is?
You haven't got one. Joking. I would say resilience. I would say resilience. Yeah, you've shown and demonstrated resilience on multiple occasions. Through thick water, you've managed to keep sailing. So yeah, resilience for me.
Probably resilience and strength, because you have shown how strong you can be throughout your whole life from the moment we found out you were profoundly deaf. Yeah, you just worked so hard through everything. Yeah. So your strength and resilience, and your kindness.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mum.
Oh, if we're allowed more, I've got a big list. I've got a massive list.
Competition.
It's really hard to come up with one.
It is.
Yeah, thank you.
But your humbleness, you've actually become even more humble than you were before you went in Love Island. You've come out a woman, actually. You changed in there and become a very humble, beautiful woman who's helping lots of other people. And we couldn't be prouder of that alone, So keep going, kid.
Thank you.
Love you.
Love you too.
Love you too.
Aw.